That was Drops in the Ocean from Hawk Nelson on 89.7 Power FM. And lo and behold, I've got Daniel, the bass player of the band, on the telephone with me. How you doing, Daniel?
Oh, we're doing well. We also got Chris, everybody. What's up?
Hey. You know what? I was doing a little bit of, some research, of course. You're supposed to do that if you're an interviewer. And was looking at a cool chart on Wikipedia. And you know how they all the people have been on Saturday Night Live, those who are been in the cast and they have like a bar that goes all the way across however many years or whatnot that they were on that show. And on your bar, it goes from the beginning till today.
I know, that's crazy. I don't know who made that chart, but they're very technical about it.
I know.
I'm very impressed.
It's got people have come and gone. You got different lead singers, different guitar players, different drummers or whatnot. But Daniel's been with them from the beginning, right?
Yeah, man. It's been over 12 years. It's in some ways that's either really awesome or it's really sad.
Oh,
but I'm going to say it's really awesome.
I think you should. That's a great spin on it because obviously, somebody needs to be an original member or what's going on. Then you're audio adrenaline.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know what to say.
No, I don't. We can move on. You don't have to.
I will say this. I will say that our motto always has been just don't quit. And, I still feel like God's doing things, so why would I?
Right. But this is great to get to talk to you because you'll have that perspective from the history of it. And there's one question I would love to ask because you've been asked the question right after it happened, but now you can look back on it with a few years and a little bit of more wisdom and life experience. And, of course, you were there when the band got to be a part of the TV show and you got to pretend to be the Who. And you're the only guy that was that was back there from that time, right? Or who else was with the group that got to be a part of that?
Honestly,
that's still there with you.
No one else got to be a part of the Who.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
John got to be in the movie with us when we got that opportunity.
Right.
I literally cannot think of the name of the movie now, but we were in a movie.
Now, how close did you get being hit in the head with the microphone when it was getting swirled around?
Not too bad.
Okay,
I remember I was pretty close to a pig in one scene in this movie or whatever. But
because I didn't know, when you're trying to emulate Roger Daltrey, if you're swinging a microphone around, if bass players and guitar players can get hit in the head, and I didn't know if
I remember that the bass guitar, it was a vintage Rickenbacker that put in my hands, and in between filming scenes, they had a guy designated to the guitar that would come and take it off of me, and hold it and baby it. Yet they'd put it back in my hands and be like, "Okay, now rock out."
That's right. Certainly had it was
so
the prop master. Yeah, or the best boy. That would be their job or something to take care of stuff like that.
They put real sideburns. They glued them onto our faces. Actual hair from somebody else. It's gross.
See, these are memories that. Did you even think about it when you were interviewed right afterwards, or do these things kind of pop into your mind after you've had some time to reminisce about it with the guys and whatnot?
I kind of think I thought that was going to happen every week or something, and then it didn't happen again. So now I realize it was kind of unique.
Yes. And what was the name of that show again? That you need to help me out with that. That was
it was called American Dream.
That's right. And it was a period show, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It took place in the 60s, 70s, I believe. It kind of mixed political events from the day as well as bands, and it was fun.
So and was it just you already asked out of the blue, or did you have some manager that was just knocking on doors and sticking their foot in doors?
For sure, we have a really great team. We always have, but we actually played a showcase in Nashville where they fly out all these music executive people from LA and stuff, and they wine and dine them and stuff, and we just connected with one guy that was kind of the music director for that show, and that kind of spun into some other opportunities. So you just never know who you're going to run into.
Well, let me ask you real quick, since you've been there with the whole time, can you give me some kind of differences or perspective on what Hawk Nelson sounded like in the beginning versus what Hawk Nelson sounds like now?
Yeah, this is something I've been thinking about lately, and sounds are always coming and going, what's in and what's not, and if you try and just ride the wave of what's cool for the day, you're going to be out of a job next year. So I'm kind of caring less about production and sound and more about okay, why do we do what we do? Like, what are we trying to say to people? And is it worth me leaving my home and my family to be on the road with this message? So in the beginning, it was a little more, we were singing about moving to California, and it was fun. It was a good time, and we were meeting a lot of other bands and touring and summer festivals. But then kind of something happened over like the last 10 years where I just feel like life is so short, and today might be the last day we have. So like, what are we saying with our voices? Like, what do we want to make some kind of eternal significant difference, or do we just want to have a good time? And I think, we want to have a good time, but we want to do more than that. So the music has changed and is more mature now, I guess, from a lyrical point of view. Musically, it's gone more pop. And I think that's happened since John's become the singer, because he's really into production and learning about all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. And so that's always good to know, because in case you need to do things on your own in this day and age of the way the music industry is, you never know when you'll be out there crowdfunding.
Honestly, that's what's happened over, like, exactly like you say, the last 2 albums. John's produced like over half of it himself.
Okay.
And some of them are my favorite sounding tracks. So I'm starting to like think that if you can like do everything in your own internal team, like, go for it.
And do you find yourself, I guess, when you think about it, when you first are getting started and you're wanting to be part of a scene or assign yourself to a genre of some kind, like you said, if you've been doing it as long as you guys have, then you find yourself not paying as much attention to perhaps other people's music, and you just sort of sit around and jam, and whatever happens, right?
Yeah, and honestly, I just think of like, it's funny, like U2 or something. Like, I think how none of their albums sound exactly like the other album next to it or whatever, and they're not afraid to try that. And some of them are hits and some are misses, but I admire that they at least did something different each time. Mm-hmm. And then I think of the bands that I grew up on, some of the punk pop bands that kind of never really changed their sound, and I've outgrown them, and I it was cool for a day.
Right. Well, let's talk about Diamonds real quick, and kind of like you talked about, the important things and what are we trying to say. What were you able to put down as far as what you wanted to say in this record?
Yeah, so basically, like, the first single, Drops in the Ocean, it's super simple message. It comes down to a year ago, we were at a conference, and there was a speaker that had good intentions, but it was a lot of do's and don'ts. And you could just see on all the kids' faces that they felt like they were never going to measure up or never going to kind of reach, God kind of a thing. And John was like, man, I want these kids to know that God's for them, and like, he's not against them. And then that just sparked something in his head. He was like, wait a minute, like, they're going to give me a microphone in like 10 minutes. I can totally tell them that. And so that turned into Drops in the Ocean, and just that God's grace is big enough for each of us in our messed up lives, and we don't have to be perfect before we come to Him. And when we do, that's when things start changing. It's not the other way around. We don't have to change our lives first before we can approach Him.
How often do you guys get back home, as far as now, is with new members, and you were probably all from Canada, right, when you first got started? Did you have a mix of U.S. folk and you, and what's the ratio now?
We're keeping it 50-50, equal split. Can Americans. It actually works out really good. So John, our singer, is Canadian as well, but he lives out in L.A. now. I'm up here near Toronto, and the other guys are in Nashville. So, like, it is weird. It brings a weird dynamic if we meet up for a tour or something. We're, like, super stoked to see each other, but we don't get to necessarily, like, sit around and jam every day.
Oh, wow. That sounds like, I mean, talk about long-distance relationships as far as that's concerned.
But you know what? Like, social media these days, you're just, like, a comment away from hanging out. It's great.
I guess so. I guess that is so true. It is a small world after all. Well, coming up, you're going to be coming through the Metroplex here. As a matter of fact, it's going to be taking place tomorrow night, and it is going to be at the Door. So you're actually are you touring with the Afters, or is this a one-off show?
No, this is a tour with the Afters and a friend of ours called Dan Bremnes. And this is the new Door, apparently. I've never been to this new Door. What can you tell me about it?
Well, neither have I. I went to the old one. I don't get out much anymore because I'm an old guy. And
whatever.
Right, and I was doing the morning show, and so I know the older I got, the earlier I went to bed. So I haven't gotten out much. But now I'm doing the afternoon show, and perhaps I might be able to, I don't know what I'll do.
I think you should come out, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a good tour. Like, we just finished our first week of it, and I was pleasantly surprised at, like, wow, this is pretty cool. And the Afters have a new song that's not released or recorded yet, but they're playing it, and it's like, it blew me away. I was like kind of expecting like, okay, it'll be all right. No, it's awesome. Like their drummer Jordan's really stepping things up for them with the production and writing.
And so how long is this tour going to last? You're like you said, you're at the beginning of it, so will these kind of things last for about a month and a half or so, or?
You know it. Man, you sound like you've been on the road.
You get kind of tired after a month and a half. You need a break.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. No, it's great. We're still excited, and I'm excited to come back to Dallas because, like I say, I haven't played at the Door since it was at another whole venue, and apparently this venue has a real special music heritage. A lot of bands back in the day played it here. It wasn't called the Door at the time, but it's pretty famous, I guess. That was what Matt and the Afters guys were saying.
Yeah, that's right. And they would know because they're from around here. So that's exciting that you're coming through, and it's been great talking to you, and thank you so much for sticking with the band all these years.
Oh, well, Chris, if you ever need something you want to do and switch it up, you can join Hawk Nelson.
Okay. Thanks a lot for giving us a call. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks, man.